You are watching day 3 of Epsilon 2026, and we are now moving into our highly anticipated segment.
That's right. We now present the showcase event of our CS track, a panel discussion on the topic, the future of AI in the cyber defense.
Artificial intelligence is transforming the digital landscape at a record breaking speed. It is a truly double-edged sword, powering the next generation of cyber attack while simultaneously serving as one of our strongest tools of detection, response, and resilience. To help us navigate and decode this rapidly evolving space, we have invited exceptional panel of experts from across the globe.
Let's meet our distinguished panelists. First, we have Mr. Tarun Malhotra, who is a renowned cybersecurity expert and data protection auditor with over 18 years of experience. He is the founder and the CEO of CyberSplunk and Cyber Academy, where he is specialized in building resilient, data compliant, and future ready secure infrastructure. Mr. Tarun is a national cybersecurity scholar featured in National Security Database and serves as the convener of the Regional Cybersecurity and AI Committee at PhD Chamber of Commerce and Industry. He is an expert in global regulatory frameworks like including GDPR, HFPAA, and in India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act, with the background that includes working with global enterprises like HCL Technologies. Mr. Tarun holds prestigious certificates such as CSA, CISA, and ISO 27001 lead auditor, making him a vital voice on navigating the complex intersection of AI-driven threats and global compliance.
Uh, Next, we have Ms. Anastasia Kurilova, a protective intelligence analyst specializing in digital risk and executive level privacy protection. Her work focuses on emerging digital threats such as deepfake and AI-enabled abuse. She is also founder of Encryptor, a non-profit organization that dedicated to empowering women with knowledge on online safety.
Completing our distinguished panel is Mr. Iman Embassy, a dedicated mentor who has trained over 1,000 individuals globally to transition into impactful tech careers. He collaborates with ISC2 and leads with initiatives through his foundation to promote digital literacy and cybersecurity awareness. A warm welcome to all our esteemed panelists. We are honored to have such a diverse and accomplished group of experts with us to discuss how AI is reshaping the future of cyber defense. The stage is now set. We will begin this discussion by exploring how AI is transforming the threat detection, enabling automated attacks, and redefining how we prepare the next generation cybersecurity professionals. To guide us through this critical conversation, I would like to hand over the proceedings to our moderator, Professor Priyanka Kadam. She is an assistant professor in the Electronics and Telecommunication Engineering department here at SISGST and is currently pursuing her PhD in cybersecurity from Symbiosis International. With over 8 years of academic experience and a strong research background at CDAC Mumbai, she specializes in network security, AI, and emerging threat detection, with multiple Scopus Index publications to her credit. Priyanka ma'am, the stage is yours.
Thank you so much, Tarun, Tejraj. Okay, so I welcome you all for this panel discussion.
Yes, ma'am. Host will be adding.
Welcome everyone. Am I clearly audible?
Yes.
Yeah, thank you so much for your reply. So I welcome everyone for this discussion as we explore AI in a security at SISGST on this forum. We are moving beyond a theoretical framework to the practical integration of AI in a defense Now, today we try to bridge the gap between academic research and the high stake reality of a global infrastructure and privacy. So, my first question to start with this discussion is for Mr. Tarun. So, sir, just um, in case of a AI system and security and the national infrastructure and the global consulting, what do you think? Is the AI currently more towards the force multiplier for the defender or for the or it is a golden key for a attacker?
Yeah. Hi, Priyanka. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the question. So it's a both, it's a vice versa because I can say it's a golden age for the hackers, scammers also because they have got AI now and they are doing more sophisticated attacks because earlier they have to put manual efforts where they are training AI to do more attack, on digital infrastructure and do like cybercrime and so on. If you see the cybercrime and cyber attacks are rise, and that is the big reason because of AI. And if you see the recent, news just 2 days back, Google says that they have got a 1 lakh prompt attack on the Gemini, and hackers are trying to clone Gemini.
Yes. Thank you so much for your reply, sir.
Uh,
Now, yeah,
so my actually, my just hold on, my camera I think is uh diverted. Now let me see. Okay, is it
yeah,
back
it
now?
is fine now. Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, as we saying, how like in a cyber security we are using as a defending tool, whereas people are using Chat GPT and they think about AI is very much strong and they are resolving the problem. And other sides of say if we see there's a hack GPT which hackers has created. They created hack GPT, they created worm GPT, malware they are creating from that, so it's a vice versa. But yeah, we are also getting a good strong hand as we run a SOC center, security operations center, where our team is monitoring client network 24/7, and we are equipped with some AI tools, and those AI tools let us know when the attack is going to be happen or somebody is trying to be intrude in firewall or servers or trying to breach any application. So yes, the vice versa. So hackers are more powerful because of AI, but other the way the defenders like we are using SOC and using multiple tools like Splunk, QRadar, NetWitness in our network to monitor client traffic and to be get mitigate of cyber security risks.
Okay.
So that's it
Thank
from
you,
my
sir.
side. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, sir. So my next question is to Miss Anastasia. Uh, so, from protecting exclusive leadership, from protecting exclusive leadership and educating women through encryptor, yeah, that is your organization. So, tell me, what part of security still requires human judgment even as an AI become more capable?
So, AI is always going to, thank you for your question, by the way, but AI is always going to be faster than humans are. Unfortunately, that's where we are at right now. It's going to have a much better, detection capabilities than humans are. But what it lacks is the ability to see intent, context, and consequences, to know consequences. It doesn't have intuition. It doesn't understand fear. Um, it cannot understand certain, like it can talk about human behaviors, but it can't see the context. So if you're getting, lots of times in my work, we'll investigate emails that are being impersonated by CEOs. If you're and this happens all the time. The typical phishing email, your boss, your CEO sends you an email saying, "Buy me so many gift cards." AI cannot. AI is not able to understand that this is not your boss's typical behavior. AI is not able to, it can analyze the phishing email technically, but it can't understand that, that this is not something that your boss would do. Additionally, when investigating, when threat hunting, lots of times you'll hear some investigators say, well, I went there because I had a feeling, I had a hunch. AI does not have that. So, in that sense, yeah. So, yeah. So,
Thank you.
mhm.
So So my second next question is to Mr. Enamel as well as for Jonathan. So as you mentor many of the global professional, so from mentoring a thousands of global professionals to establishing training and frameworks, what is the primary security objective you believe which is remain exclusively human led?
All right, so thank you very much for that question. Uh, Hello, everyone. Emmanuel here. I think Anastasia has pretty set it up. She was really correct when she made mention about AI not being able to, see intent or see the intention behind things. So yes, I would say while AI can, process more data than we human beings, I think the primary objective that remains human led should be contextual decision making, which is still pretty much what Anastasia said. So, what do I mean by contextual decision making? The ability to, make decisions based on what you're seeing or what you're hearing, based on context. So, that's pretty much it. You should be good to go.
Thank you, sir. So now next, after this ice break discussion on a at a beginning note, now we are moving towards a more strategical integrations and the real time monitoring. So while dealing with this, there is always a implementation gap. So one of the greatest challenge is moving from static logging to the live traffic monitoring to which we need to feed to the AI engines. So let's look at the operational reality scenario in a more detail. So my next question is to Mr. Tarun Malhotra. So which your with your background in a global regulatory compliances, how does a standard enterprise moves towards the live traffic monitoring while remaining the compliances in Indian Digital Personal Data Protection Act 2023?
Okay, thank you for the question. Yeah, as an auditor, when we do audits for like global regulatory compliances, like HIPAA, GDPR, SOC 2, Type 1, Type 2, and now DPDP Act, which is come to India also. Like India is now applicable with Data Protection Act. So as I'm doing these audits from last 8 to 10 years, and first of all, to establish the controls which HIPAA says, which SOC 2 says, or GDPR, whatever. Almost all these compliances they talk about the data protection, and data is about maybe PI data, personal identifier data, or PHI data, protected health information. So the main goal is to protect the the data, and for that we implement lot of controls, in regards, and we check controls if whatever implemented by the IT team in the environment to protect that particular data. It may be we check the firewall, we check logs on servers, on EDR endpoint detection and response, and how they are monitoring their whole infrastructure with data protection. Is they equipped with some DLP, data leakage prevention application or not? So yeah, most of the time, sometime we found like the companies are implementing these controls, but they are not monitoring it. And monitoring this traffic is very much important. The way the data is coming and where data is going on, that is very much important. So most of the time they implement technical equipments like firewalls or EDR, XDR, but we found they are not configured properly. If they are implementing any application or devices, I mean it's not properly configured, it's going to be a breach. It can be a cyber attack. So we help organizations to implement these tools, techniques appropriately, and then monitor, because cybersecurity is not a one-time job. It's an ongoing job because it's a daily routine to be follow. What's coming, what's going out in a device. Because if you see a server or firewall is receiving thousands of logs in a minute, and who will assure when the malicious traffic is coming to server or the firewall? So that's the SOC team or maybe the monitoring team need to be on toe, and they have to see what is coming in and out. And that's the main thing. And because of AI, these attacks are more are on industry, on those organizations, because as I said in the first question, answering that the hackers are training AIs to do more sophisticated attacks. So the tendency of attack is getting 10x now because they have got tool. So that's why monitoring is also required to do more stringently to stop these attacks and monitor the infrastructure and make the infrastructure compliant with HIPAA, SOC 2, GDPR, whatever it is.
Yes, very rightly said that awareness and always proper, what we can say, installation as well as monitoring of tool is very very important. Now, my next discussion for the next question is for to Miss Anesthesia. So, just tell us, in your work while investigating targeted threats against the individual, what legal and privacy risk arises when you are analyzing or when analyst and protectively you are going to search for the threats across the online platforms.
So I can't speak for, thank you for the question. I cannot speak for the rest of the world, like privacy laws and all that. And but I can talk about some of the issues with certain investigations that we do in the United States. When you're doing when I'm doing threat hunting and I'm trying to find any sort of doxing content on any of the executives for the bank that I work at. One has to be very careful what they look for. Certain databases on deep web are only meant for the eyes of the person whom you're searching for. So if you are searching for John Smith, uh, oftentimes before you even get to that information, you have to check a box that says, I am John Smith, and this is the information I'm looking at. If you are not John Smith and you're looking at John Smith information, like to see, if the address is being posted or whatever, you can be breaking a law without even knowing. Also, if you have a scanner and using a scanner is using AI and it's scanning, and there's certain jurisdictions where the scanner is not able to pull the PII from those jurisdictions because it's illegal. So that's another, yes, you can maybe program your AI scanner to like know each law in each jurisdiction, but oftentimes you may be unknowingly breaking the law without even realizing. If you're just having crawl different websites looking for the any sort of doxing content or on your on the people that you're trying to protect, right? And then also just when you're investigating, you're looking at impersonation profiles. You want to make sure that you're looking at just the thread itself, and you're not monitoring a person's life. You're not looking at their any conversations, you're not trying to be noisy and look into their life. There's a fine line. It's sometimes you can't cross that. So it's like an ethics thing where you have to you have to find out if this person is if this is his real profile or if it's an impersonation, but you can't dig too far. So just so some things to keep in mind. And yeah, when like AI sometimes doesn't know that, so it may, depending on what you're using, it can go far and break the law. So
Thank you so much, ma'am. So my next question is for this discussion to Mr. Enamel. So, as uh, in our college as well, in our institute, students are doing projects. They want to perform on a real time data for their projects. So, on a student perspective, I just want to ask a question. As the data becomes more dynamic, what specific technical shift should they focus on while training and testing their AI model in terms of a cybersecurity?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much for the question. So, first of all, I'd like to say, even as much as we are currently making use of AI for our day-to-day activities, the basics still remain the same, right? The foundation still remains the same. So, first of all, having a great foundation, network foundation, operating system foundations should be prioritized. And if you have that good foundation, I think it should be good to go. And I think understanding how AI works in the first place would also help you make better decisions. What do I mean by that? Uh, AI works with data, right? If the data is corrupted or poor, you might have poor results, or you would have poor results. So you want to learn how AI works in the first place and make sure that the data that is being fed into the model or into the AI uh, is good data. So I think that's pretty much it. So there are several AI fundamental courses out there that you might want to get your hands on. It's also a plus if you could learn how AI works in the first place. Yeah.
Uh, Thank you so much. So, as we have discussed about the data part and how to deal with the how to get that data, now in a more intensive way. So, in case of a defensive simulation and uh, adversarial resilience, now to protect now for the in the now to protect as well as for the shielding of environment. So we'll move towards this discussion. We will move our discussion towards the simulation of modern threats. Like as we know, the multi-vector attacks and the hybrid attacks are there, which are very critical and very difficult to analyze as well as to detect. Now we need to ensure some exercises which are required to become a safe as well as to defend, right? So now on the same ground, I would like to ask question to Miss Anastasia. As a protective intelligence analyst and the founder of Encryptor, you deal with the various real world impersonation and the deepfake abuses rather than the lab simulations, right? So how are individual actually being targeted today, and as well as what are the practical defense mechanism as a person you will tell to adapt.
yeah, that's a good question. So lots of attacks nowadays don't require much technical any like they're not really technical. Many of them are, but AI is used in a lot of like social engineering. So somebody can fake a voice or create a picture using your own picture, create a video. Some of them is inappropriate videos. So generate an email with sense of urgency to send money, contacting your coworkers, your family, posing as yourself, create like a fake profile of you, with all of your information and posing as yourself, and then contact your coworkers and your family to extort money out of them. So uh, you know, one thing I hope to teach women in my organization is how to, first of all, awareness. I think that, AI is just a wild, wild west right now, and the laws are not catching up with everything that we have, all the new technologies. And so it's important to kind of stay on top of it and know what websites, and I know this, it's a bit of a whack-a-mole thing. It's like new apps, new websites that are coming up that are generating deep fakes, especially ones that are used to generate inappropriate images or videos. So teaching women awareness and how to essentially find themselves on these websites and um, on these apps, and be proactive and know what to do if you do happen to find yourself on the app or on the, and teaching tool, like teaching how to find themselves and know what to do in those situations. Also just teaching, steps on what to do if it's, if you get like a fake call, or like if it's like from your mom, obviously there's like certain things you can do, like you should have like have somebody else that you can verify. If it's like a family member who you think is calling, have another way to verify if it's your real like family, because they spoof numbers as well, and they have your mom's voice, and then from your mom's phone number calling, you have to be able to know the things that you can do to verify that. So for example, like if you think it's your mom calling, like call your family member and have them call dial from their phone, to verify that with your mom, or send her an email, or call from your phone number to her. Just like have some kind of a external, like a extra verification to do that. Also, never trust identity from like one channel alone. So if you see a impersonation, if you see somebody who is posing to be a boss or something, make sure you do some research on it, and find out more about it. Like if it's their profile, if there's possible multiple other profiles. Typically, if it's being if one typically whenever impersonations happen, there's multiple profiles that are popping up, especially if people that are in the news, in the media. You'll typically see more than one. So if there's one, there's more. So definitely do your due diligence and checking. And then anytime you see it's like if it's urgent, your mom's calling and she's saying, "Oh, I need you to transfer money real quickly to me," make sure you pause and just think about it. Like, yes, it's my mom, but also like maybe I should hang up the phone and call her, call her directly from myself, and call her number, or call my dad and check to see, like, so but yeah, that's my answer.
So I
Yeah.
think very well said by the Nithisia. So I want to add in this. So as we do also, take workshops for women and for the child safety for digital infrastructure, how to use it. So we always say them a thumb rule that's called zero trust principle. Zero trust principle says this: never trust, always verify. If you see something in a digital world, it's never going to be true. It's maybe a scam. So always verify. Because and another thing which Nithisia says very well, like these scammers are, they are very, good, like, equipped with AI now. So they do very small things, and they train AI and do all these cyber crime. And there's a big difference between hackers and a scammer. Hackers maybe are more technical; they do more sophisticated attacks on the infrastructure. But these scammers, that they trick people, with this psychology. As Anesthesia says that they call, pretending like somebody, impersonate somebody. So they trick by using AI. So always, use this thumb rule, zero trust principle. No, never trust, always verify. That's the only way to we use the digital world and digital things.
Thank you. That's such a good point. That is a very popular framework that's used in a lot of
Yeah,
financial industries,
yeah.
the zero trust. It's a complex one, but it's the most, yeah, it's the
It's a
most trustworthy
complex
one.
one, but we can at least use when we do deliver these kind of workshops to women and to the children to just use make it simple, a terminology, zero trust principle, and as you know, it's a heavily used in cybersecurity world, but we can simplify in to the people to use it in a digital world.
Thank you. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. The zero trust and more about it. So, at least one more point of verification, at least 2 point verification is the key, right? So, my to continue with this discussion, I would like to ask next question to Mr. Jonathan. Sir, are you there?
Ma'am, Jonathan is joining right now. He's having a technical issues. To
Okay,
introduce
okay.
the panel and all the people watching the session live, the Jonathan is the Director of Training and Education at the Cybersecurity Expert Association of Nigeria. With extensive experience as a senior consultant at the Big Four firm, he holds a master's degree from the Cardiff University and a top-tier certification like ISO 27001 and Microsoft Cybersecurity Architect. Organized as a highly commended honoree at the UK Cyber Diversity Award. He is dedicated to build an inclusive pathway for future talent. So Jonathan is on the panel now. You can further continue the session. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for
So,
having me.
good morning, Jonathan. I welcome you in this session. So, to start with the discussion with the Jonathan, I would like to ask question. So, sir, s- uh, from mentoring 1,000 global professional to establish training framework, what what do you think? Why remain exclusively, or it should be there to remain exclusively for the human lead?
Can you take the last part of the question again, please?
Okay. So, my question is about from monitoring 1,000 global professionals to establish training framework. What is the primary security objective you believe it should be remain exclusively human lead?
Okay, thank you for that very interesting question. I think you guys are doing a great job with organizing this kinds of sessions and inviting cybersecurity professionals from around the world to speak to you guys. Well done to you. To answer your question around the what remains human-led, I would say I can take that question from different parts, but the objective, one of the objectives that remains human-led is ethical judgment. So now we see artificial intelligence, we see machine learning being used in cybersecurity, cyber defense. Um, but to be able to understand that context, especially as regards cybersecurity, one important thing is the human part, right? You cannot take away entirely the human part from cybersecurity, from understanding the contextual information about cyber defense, cyber alert. So that risk ownership, that ethical judgment is very, very important. Artificial intelligence, AI, it can detect anomalies. It can correlate threat intelligence, right? Using threat intelligence to understand if an attacker is in your environment. It can also, recommend some actions to take using maybe playbooks, run books, different things like that. But what AI cannot do is decide what's the level of risk an organization can face, right? For example, where I work, we had an incident. One of our clients had an incident last week, and this client they had a lot of tools that leverage artificial intelligence. defense tools. I mean, I don't want to go into the detail, too much of technical details. But lots of these tools, fraud, they were hit by a very massive fraud attack into the millions of dollars, right? Millions of dollars. But they still had several significant tools that leverage artificial intelligence in their environment. Despite that, they were still hit by an attack. And when we did the investigation, we found out that so it was through a third party integration into their environment. What this shows is that despite the amount of artificial intelligence tools and that you might implement in your system, there's still the need for humans to be able to contextualize that environment. The AI might not be able to scan the third-party APIs. The AI might not be able the third-party environment, and due to that, the third parties might still be able to, to integrate into your system and bring their own risk. So, AI cannot decide the level of risk an organization is willing to accept, or how that decision might even affect business priorities. Right? We still need humans to be able to do that. So that part is very very important. That's one major part that is human led, right? Contextualization of risk, deciding how a risk affects the business as a whole. Because we as humans, we work in organizations, we're able to understand the business context, we're able to understand our environment, right? We're able to know, okay, this is false positives, this is false negatives, and things like that. So also how that decision also even affects regulatory compliances and things like that. So that's one major part. Being able to understand that risks, being able to contextualize that risks. I think that's the major parts that will continue to remain human led. Thank you.
Okay. So, to continue with this same discussion, um, I would like to ask one more question to Mr. Jonathan. So, how do we align high velocity of data integration with the global standards like ISO 27001 without compromising the compliance status of any particular organization?
Okay, thank you for that question. So it's a very interesting question in the sense that, like, how do you align global standards with data? How do you align high velocity data ingestion with global standards? I mean, if you're not familiar with the global standards, ISO 27001, it's the information security management system, and it's very important for, especially if you want to take information security internally in your organization very seriously. Now, taking it from an angle of high velocity data, the key is understanding that this standard, this ISO 27001 standard, um, is not meant to be restrictive. It's not meant to be a restrictive technology or be a restrictive standard. It's particularly there to be able to govern cybersecurity, to be able to govern data security, to be able to control discipline. So high velocity data ingestion is not the problem, right? You might have a lot of data that have been ingested. A lot of organizations these days process thousands and millions terabytes of data. Um, so that is not the problem, right? Um, if you're not controlling or if you're not aware of the amount of data that you collect, that is when there's now a problem, right? The data itself might not necessarily be the problem, but lack of awareness, uncontrolled data collection, uncontrolled data ingestion can be a problem, right? And looking at it from different angle, right? Looking at the scope, right? Even ensuring that your AI systems, your monitoring systems, are included within your ISMS scope. That's your information security management system scope, right? Because when you're defining the scope of an information security management system, right, you can add that your data ingestion scope, your data ingestion features into the scope, because when you're doing implementation, right? I am an ISO 27001 lead implementer. I implement the standard for organizations, right? So the first thing about when you're trying to implement the standard is to define the scope, right? So at that point is what. So what that means is at that point is where you're able to, okay, what do you want to be included in the information security management system? What parts of your infrastructure, what parts of your processes, what parts of governance do you want to be included? So that is where I believe you should get it right in terms of including your AI systems that collect this amount of data, high velocity data into the scope. So that's one. Another thing that's also very important is the data classification, right? Data classification, very, very important before ingestion, right? Because we can sit here and talk about high data collection, high data injection, but what kinds of data are being collected? What kinds of data are being ingested, right? Are you collecting personal data? Are you collecting regulatory data? Are you collecting what kinds of data? Are you collecting some sensitive data, PIIs, or even health informations of people, right? That can help you. If you don't know the kinds of data you're collecting, it means that you don't even know how best to protect those data, especially when it comes to the information security management system, which is the ISO 7001 route. So very, very important data classification before you ingest those data. Very, very important as well. And the third thing and final thing I would say is around access controls and segregation. You know, you can collect a lot of data, you can ingest a lot of data on high velocity standards. But if you don't have, I mean, I heard some of the speakers talking about zero trust, principle of least privilege. Very, very important, right? If you collect those data and you even define the scope, but you don't have appropriate controls to protect those data, then what's the point? If anyone can just go into your infrastructure, go into your database, and be able to pull out any kinds of data they want, there's no principle of least privilege. There's no zero trust architecture security principle put in place to be able to protect those data. I think that's going to be a full-time effort. So that's the third and major thing. I mean, there are others, but I think these three things forms kind of like the very concrete basics when you're talking about high velocity data ingestion, especially aligning it with global standards like the ISO standards. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So, as in moving towards more about the journey of this data, my next question is to Mr. Enamel. So, while dealing with these data, how do we ensure the simulation exercises remain a real world relevance so that aspiring professionals are prepared for the high stake environments, not just like a lab simulations?
All right. Thanks very much for that question. I think I spent some time thinking about this earlier, and I would say we have to find a way to apply frameworks and standards into simulations and into labs, right? What do I mean by that? In real world scenarios, we find ourselves making use of frameworks like the NIST and standards like ISO 27001, and implementing this into labs will also give students the what's the word the right feel towards real life scenarios. And I would say in real life scenarios, there's I think there's more pressure this time. So you might want to add time constraints. You might want to highlight maybe the business impact or things like that. You want to add more pressure to the students just to give him more or her more, you know, feel. And I also think if it's possible to also integrate collaboration into labs and simulation, because sometimes you're not the only person that's responding to a threat. You're not the only person responding to an attack. You have to collaborate with people. So you might want to add the opportunity to maybe invite colleagues to uh, maybe handle the session with you and stuff like that. And lastly, effective communication, knowing how to communicate cybersecurity to leadership, knowing how to communicate cybersecurity to the team, knowing how to communicate cybersecurity to the organization at large is also really important. So I would say um, there should be leadership reporting integrated as well. So that's it for now.
Okay, thank you, sir. So now we have some clear understanding about the data. Now, to continue with this discussion, I would like to ask question to Mr. Tarun regarding the available infrastructure or the network infrastructure. So, the regarding infrastructure, can standard network handle the load of automated or AI-driven red teaming simulations without operational disturbances?
So yeah, for like infrastructure which need to be like you're saying, you're talking about red teaming, right? You're
Yes,
saying
yes,
about red teaming.
yes, yes.
Okay, so
Red teaming.
traditional network, is we can't compete with the nowadays technology so evolving. The new things are coming, and all the servers, you can say firewall, EDR, XDR, they are now with AI and ML, equipped, kind of things. If you see the traditional antivirus, which is just work to detect the the malware or the vulnerability in the network, if you use that now in the traditional network, it's not going to work. So that need to become with the latest technique and tools, maybe good EDR, XDR, maybe CrowdStrike, or maybe SentinelOne, or maybe Sophos, which will equip with the new AI tools and technology to detect the vulnerabilities, attack vectors, and that is required. And red teaming we can do with using Kali Linux and all sometime to detect, or from the outside attack to check what kind of ports are open, what kind of vulnerability exists in the network. But yeah, to defense we require the newly equipped application servers which are AI ML enabled, and traditional network is not going to be work now, because of AI. That, as I told you earlier also, the hacker scammers are more smart. They are doing sophisticated attacks. They are trying to break through the software, through using AI, and that is easy for them now, where they are spending hours or a days or a months to do some attacks, or to break out some software. Now they are having AI which can do that task within hours. With the months of task, they are able to do in hours, in a day. So that's why the traditional network infrastructure need to be upgrade with the new tools, techniques, with firewalls, EDR, XDR, and so on, and so that we can make a good defensive system in the environment of the network.
Yeah, thank you so much. Now, my next question is to Mr. Jonathan. Um, as a director of Training Institute, how do you establish a rule of engagement for AI-driven simulations within professional training frameworks?
Okay, thank you for that question. So, yeah, it's an interesting question because I'm trying to look at how to approach the question, right? Rules of AI in rules of engagement in AI-driven simulations, right? So I'm coming from that uh, uh, um, 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 session point of view. Basically, also from my own professional experience, from also consulting for organizations around artificial intelligence security and contextual security. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. In this professional environment, in this professional settings, one important thing, it's very, very important that these simulations not even should be controlled, should be done in a very controlled environment, especially around ethical boundaries, right? A lot of organizations come to us as professionals. I work for a consulting firm, and we see a lot of organizations that come to us to say we want to implement some AI systems in the environment, and but of course they want to test the systems, they want to simulate some of these things that they would like to do internally. And one of the major things that we advise is, ensuring that these simulations are done in a very controlled environment, and as well around in an ethical way, right? In a very ethical way that doesn't affect the organization, and also doesn't affect I mean, when I say affect organization, I mean in terms of their business, in terms of reputation, in terms of data leakage, and also even affecting the employees as well. So these are part of the rules of engagement. In terms of, so one major thing will be around, what is the objective, right? What is the objective of the simulation? What is the objective of the testing? Is this going to be done in a to detect information disclosure? Is it going to be done to detect response? Is it going to be done to detect recovery? So what is the goal of this simulation, right? So that is the first thing when you're talking about rules of engagement in testing this system, right? And that thing would be, I mentioned earlier, in a controlled state. So that's one major thing, right? Ensuring that this your environment is this your testing is done on isolated environment. You don't want to doing simulations on your production environment, especially if you are a very large cloud based systems, right? So you want to ensure that it's done in a sandbox, especially most very important in a sandbox environment that is segmented from your main network. So that's that. So these are sort of like recommendations, not necessarily like a rules of engagement, about the what I've seen in practice and what advise organizations to also do as well. Right. So that those are like just two major ones that can set the baseline for any organization trying to go through what do they have to do, what are the steps to take, what are the rules, or what are the what is kind of like the first approaches to do in terms of testing AI systems in their environment. And of course, there must be somebody that oversees all of this, right? There must be, I mentioned earlier around the importance of human-led AI systems, right? So there must be somebody that oversees this, that making sure that the AI systems is doing what it's supposed to do, is configured in an appropriate manner. So that's also part of it as well.
Yeah, thank you so much. So, after discussion on a data framework and more about the technology, I would like to move our further discussion on the topic of governance, ethics, and the future pathways of AI in a cybersecurity. So, as we know, we automate our defenses. We must address the ethical and legal foundations of these technologies as well. So on this ground, I would like to ask question to Miss Anastasia. So on a working directly, as you are working directly with the victims, where do the current laws fails to address AI-driven identity abuse? And what do you think? What protections are urgently needed to encompass all these things?
Yeah, so I can't speak for the laws all over the world, but I can only say, or the laws. I can only talk about the laws in the United States, and many of them are outdated. Many of the laws are designed around like stolen data, not fabricated reality, which is what AI is. If somebody hacks you, the violation is clear. But if somebody creates a fake image, fake voice of you, that can get really complicated in terms of laws and what your rights are as a victim. Some of the things that we really need is like having a legal recognition for likeness and voice as a protected biometric identity. So basically using those two things and making those two things protected. So that also includes like consent, because if AI generates a video of you or a picture, it doesn't have your consent. Another thing we need is like fast takedown requirements. And then also having platforms keeping having them account having them making them accountable for posting those things, and just maybe even making it completely illegal to create websites that generate inappropriate content. Some of the current laws, so our current laws in the United States, they protect against deep fake, inappropriate images, child exploitation, and election deception. We don't currently have any impersonation, so we don't have any laws that protect against impersonation scams, fake conversations, reputational deepfakes, AI harassment, and synthetic identity attacks. Lots of times you'll see websites kind of making it's up essentially up to the website. Do they want to remove it or not? You'll report stuff, and oftentimes they'll come back and say, we're not going to remove it, but sometimes they do come back and say they'll remove it. So yeah.
So, on the same ground of ethics in AI cyber defense, I would like to ask a question to Mr. Tarun. So, in a future of autonomous defense, who holds the ultimate legal responsibility when an AI driven mistake results in a massive network outrage?
So basically, if you talk about law, so we can't see, I mean, we can see that the in global, all the countries are in a race of to implement AI, but I think law is still missing. And if you see, the technology is so evolving, so even the government and they are unable to understand what is happening. Every day something new coming into the digital world, so that is something need to be controlled, and that should be regulate. If we see there's a law for the PI data like HIPAA, GDPR, but right now, if something happening with AI and some impersonate the through AI and doing these kind of attacks. The first of all, these attacks are happening. The people are anonymous, so they government agencies are unable to track that, trace that. I have because when we deal with these kind of cybercrime, I was cybercrime intervention officer also. I'll deal with a lot of women and child cases where they call us and they said they lost money, they somebody is blackmailing, somebody morph their video or their photographs and asking some amount and getting calls from the internationally. So the thing is that, and when the people lost the money, government, police, they unable to get that back because these cyber criminals are so fast. They're using technology and they will get the money out of the India or out of the another any country, and they convert into the cryptocurrency. And once the money is trail is break into crypto, nobody gets the money back. So I have seen people are lost millions of like dollars, or and if you talk about India also in rupees, and a lot money they are losing. So we help a lot of people to be get them safe, and they get out from these kind of cyber crime when they when they reach us. And but yeah, if we talk about the law still need to be strict, need to be made, need to be regulated by the government globally, by all the countries, so that the cyber criminals will think about before doing these kind of cyber crime with the people or the organizations, kind of these ransomware attacks or impersonate, spoof emails, spam emails, and so on. So yeah, the laws still need to be strict, but government is still, as I said, like, they are amazed and they are seeing the technology so evolving. They are unable to, catch that what is happening around us. So that's why I think they are still thinking to we make some law, and they are still working on it. I think, but hope so. Someday, I mean, we are getting some good laws and all.
Yeah, on the same
Yep.
hope, uh, I would like to ask next question to Mr. Jonathan. So, how do we ensure that the AI driven automation doesn't come at the cost of diversity, and what we continue for creating inclusive pathway into the industry?
Okay, thank you for that question. That's a very important part. While we are pushing AI-driven automations, we want to ensure that it doesn't erode diversity and inclusion, especially around bias, especially around pathway into the industry as well. You know, automations can be it can either be democratized for everyone. It's in cybersecurity, it can either democratize cybersecurity or centralize it, right? If we are intentional about AI, if we're intentional, AI particularly could, it could reduce every of these entry level roles. We could also make it harder to for newcomers to gain experience. So particularly, to prevent this, because while AI brings its benefits, there are also some costs to it, right? A lot of roles are going to be automated. A lot of entry level redundant roles are going to be automated. People are going to lose jobs. I'm sure we've seen all of the things on social media around people losing their jobs. AI is going to take so thousands number of jobs and things like that. So that's part of it, right? So to ensure that we have this balance where we want to ensure that people have access to it, diversity and inclusion. We should things to I think just like I think my camera just went bad. So some of the things to ensure is that we must invest in AI literacy, right? It was very important that we invest in AI literacy across all backgrounds, right? So, we must ensure that there's access to AI trainings, there's access to resources. It's not, I mean, this access to resources and training is not limited to people who can afford it or who went to the best schools or who went to the best institutions. It should be to everyone because once everyone is literate right from the beginning, right from the scratch, right, everyone can compete on the same level, right? So that's a major thing, right? Another thing is to we have to preserve the human-centered role. So things like modeling, policy development, incident communication, contextual judgment, very, very important contextual judgment for an organization. Even stakeholder engagement, right? Those are the roles that still needs human and that still needs human to be able to function. So where people can still be involved in those kind of roles. So while AI is automating a lot of these roles, a lot of things, we want to ensure that there's still a diversity of knowledge, diversity of skill, diversity of experience, and also to be involved. So using these two methods, we would say like we can achieve that balance efficiently, and that can also help us to retain that it doesn't, AI-driven automation doesn't come as a cost to diversity and inclusion to the industry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. After understanding the constraint of diversity, I would like to ask question to Mr. Emmanuel. So, as you are running a training institute, on that basis, I would like to ask a question. How do we teach ethical hacking when the tools which are utilized and the AI agents are having a lack of inherent moral compass?
Thank you very much for that. First of all, hi guys. Is there any ethical hacker live with us right now? If you're an ethical hacker or an aspiring ethical hacker, kindly drop an emoji. Let's know ourselves. I mean, it's good to be among like-minded people. So, fantastic question. Um, I'm sure those of us watching this video, and maybe those who might eventually, watch the recording, I'm sure you're already aware that these tools, of course, these tools don't have emotions, they don't have feelings, or they've been created to just perform a task, right? So the tools, maybe in the future, the tools might be able to have emotions. I don't know, but until then, but right now, tools do not have emotions, so it's impossible for AI agents and these tools to have the moral compass. It's also important to also teach students about legal boundaries, right? It's also good to teach them legal boundaries. I'm sure you heard that. It's also important to teach them about staying within the scope of a pen test. So before you engage on a pen test or testing, right, you're going to be given a scope, and for the benefit of the organization and yourself, it's always important to stay within the scope, right? So we have to teach them about the legal boundaries, the scopes, and responsible disclosure. So you might discover a vulnerability, or how you pass the message is also important. You have to know how to responsibly disclose that information. And it's also good to personally, I've had so many cases of cyber attacks and scams, right? I've The consequences of these cyber attacks can be devastating, right? I've seen cases where victims end up committing suicide. It's I mean, it's really nothing to be happy about. So I think it's good to know that if you're watching this video and you're into ethical hacking, you are a lifesaver, right? You have purpose in the digital space. It's you should already know that ethical hacking is really not about breaking stuff. It's about protecting systems and strengthening trust. And at the end of the day, the machines don't feel pain. At the end of the day, the major goal of cybersecurity is about protecting the humans, right? So we have to what's the word now? We have to imbibe a sense of purpose into students that okay, you have a purpose as well in the digital space. It's not just a career; you also have purpose, and I think that should uh, that should work.
Okay. Thank you so much. So, in this thorough discussion of AI in a cybersecurity, right from how AI is inculcated for the cybersecurity defense mechanism as well as for the prevention mechanism, we discuss about the data integrity part, how to deal with the data, how to take a real-time data, how to deal with the simulations or the simulation environment, along with the laws and the what we can say laws as well as the forums which are available to discuss the issues of this cyber security. Now as we come towards the closing of this particular panel discussion, I would like to ask audience, if you are having your any question regarding the same discussion, you can put your question in a chat box or in a live chat streaming chat box. We have limited time to select your questions from, so please state your question to whom you want to address. So the forum is open for Q&A session. Yeah, we are having question from our audience. This is a question from the one of the audience, Mukulvani, to Miss Anesthesia. So, when protecting higher level exclusive leadership, how do we balance the need for aggressive hunting for threat with the legal rights to the privacy for these being monitored?
Yeah, thank you for the question. I sort of kind of touched on that in previous questions, where I mentioned that when you're threat hunting for, either active threats for to the executives, or if you're hunting down the any sort of doxing attempts of their current location or their residential address or their family members, you have to stay within you have to only look at the things that would help lower sort of the temperature of the situation, and not go out. So you're not looking at their family photos per se. You're looking for any information that includes their residential address, their phone number, their emails, any potential negative sentiment leading to doxing. I think maybe that's. I hope that I'm answering your question with that. So there's no really aggressive hunting is only needed when there is like an active threat, which does happen occasionally. Some of them will get, people in the public eye will get occasional mail threats via mail, postal service, or to their home. And that's when that aggressive hunting begins. And typically, we will have to identify the person who is sending the threat. And that's where sort of that aggressive hunting steps in. We have certain tools that, will help us identify those individuals a little bit more so, because we're looking for the person who is doing an actual threat to the executive's life. So we're not really, we're not like, we're looking at everything and anything we can find. But when it comes down to protective intelligence, like when it's not an active threat, and we're just hunting for PII and doxing, then we tend to just focus on the information that would make them a target, instead of looking at any of their, like, too much of their personal life, or their kids or their families. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah, definitely. So, as we are running out of time, I directly shift towards the next question. So, next question from the audience, it is to Mr. Emmanuel. So, for a student at SISGST looking to specialization in a ethical hacking, is it better to master any specific AI tool now, or focus on understanding uh, a moral compass? Um, Sir, you're not audible.
All right. Thank you very much for that question, and thank you for the support. So that's a very good question. I think the best thing to really focus on as far as pen testing is concerned, or ethical hacking is concerned, is the phases of hacking, right? So I need you to take your time to study the phases of hacking, right? If you understand the phases of hacking, regardless of where you find yourself, you can use those phases, you can apply those phases into any pen test. So the phases of hacking, we have information gathering. Information gathering. We also have scanning and enumeration, and we have exploitation. And I'm not going to go into details. But if you know these principles, if you know these phases, you could as well supply those phases to an AI chatbot, and then you probably get something useful. But the most important thing for you to understand is the phases of hacking. the phases of hacking. Yeah.
Okay. Um, Thank you so much. So, as to conclude with this panel discussion, a last question to all the panelists. Just uh, summarize this session. What do you think? What is the single most important human skill that students should master to thrive alongside in AI in a cyber defense? This question is open to all. I repeat the question one more time. What is the single most important human skill that students should master to thrive alongside AI in a cyber defense?
Skepticism, being able to be a skeptic next to, because a lot of AI right now has is it's not perfect. It has a lot of makes a lot of mistakes. So, working with AI, you have to be a skeptic naturally.
Yeah,
I can say, on the name of cybersecurity, everybody want to be ethical hacker. And once we do ethical hacking, so hacking hacker is a hacker, if it's ethical or not ethical. So I always say to students to be a defender, to be on a defensive side instead of offensive. Learn offensive and do defensive. So that's the right balance. So just to doing a ethical hacking or do a hacker using AI tools or whatever the pen test you are doing, it's maybe nobody want to hire a hacker in their organization. They want to hire a defender in their organization who can defend, who can let them know how to counter the attack. So I always say that be a defender, not a hacker. Learn hacking but use more on the defensive side. Thank you.
yeah, very true.
For me, I'd say critical thinking is very, very important. I mean, just like the other panelists have also said, critical thinking is one of the major things because AI can give you a response, it can generate answers, but only a trained mind. If you know what you can be able to know what are the answers. We've seen cases where AI gives you wrong answers or gives you answers that doesn't put into consideration your contextual environment. So the ability to be able to think and question those answers is one of the major things. I mean, that correlates with what Anastasia said about skepticism, right? You don't just trust blindly. You should be able to question these artificial intelligence models. You should be able to question their answers. That can help you so be able to make the best of AI. Thank you.
All right. So I think everyone has said it all. So I'll just agree with what you guys have said. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so that was a truly brilliant and thought-provoking discussion. From understanding the risk of AI generating attacks to exploring the power of intelligent defense system. I'm sure our audience has gained a valuable insight today.
We are now come to the end of this session. I would like to sincerely thank you, all our panelists, for sharing their expertise, perspective, and experience with us.
On behalf of IEEE SISGST, I would like to present a virtual token of gratitude to you, firstly, Jonathan Yardley. We appreciate your expertise in aligning high velocity AI data injection with the global standard like ISO 27045, advocating for diversity in our future technical leadership. Thank you for joining us and enriching this session. Secondly, I would like to give a token of gratitude to Mr. Tarun Malhotra. We are deeply grateful for your insight into bridging the 18 years gap between the traditional infrastructure and modern AI-driven compliance under India's Digital Personal Data Protection Act.
I will like to give a token of gratitude to Anastasia. Thank you for your virtual presence on the human element of protective intelligence and for highlighting the practical defenses for identity abuse. I will like to give a token of gratitude to Emmanuel. Our sincere thanks for the demonstrating how ethical hacking and the real world simulation can be used to mentor the next generation of cybersecurity talent. I will like to give the token of gratitude to Professor Priyanka Kadam. We extend our heartful gratitude to you for your exceptional monitoring and for the skillfully bridging the gap between academic research and the highly stake reality of a global infrastructure.
Thank you for being the part of Epsilon 2026. And thank you for all our participants for attending and engaging with us over the 3-day session. Hope we have gained a fresh perspective on evolving future of cyber defense. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you,
Thank you
guys.
so much.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.
Yeah, thank you so.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you
Thank
guys
you.
Have a
for
nice day.
having me.
Bye.
Pleasure.
Have a nice day.
Yeah, bye.
All right.